Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Hello! If I haven't told you, folks, I love being in the studio now. What's going on, all you scallywags? Nutmeggers. Everybody across the fruited plain. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. Happy Thursday to you, and I know we're about to wrap this puppy up, this whole day up. We have got a jam-packed show for you today to talk about only a few topics. And I promised you yesterday that I would get in-depth on it today, but just to preview today's show, we've got Chris Powell on the program later on, columnist. ChrisPowellColumn.com for all of his writing. So he'll be on the program at 4 o'clock to talk about his latest article on homelessness, on the housing crisis, as they're calling it. I'm going to go in another direction today. I think we're being bamboozled, but we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about it with Chris. Chris is going to set us up for my monologue as it comes to affordable housing, as it relates to affordable housing in the state. And this has been an issue for me because there are certain things that just didn't add up. And Chris Powell's article just certified what I was thinking. And so we'll talk to him. I'll let you know about all of that. I've got one topic that will dovetail into another. And that's the DCF issue as it relates to the Waterbury case and Mimi Torres's case. And then how that dovetails into homeschooling, which is an article that I read today from Newsweek. And there's so much to all of that. So jam-packed but very limited on topics, plus your phone calls. At 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. I want to thank my wife for bailing on me while I was in the gym today. She picked up a couple of weights. She got in the elliptical. She didn't feel comfortable. She was out of it. She said, yeah, I'm just going. After she forced me to work out this morning, which I did. I did work out this morning. I broke a sweat. And I was telling Roland, I don't feel myself today. I ate avocado in the morning. I don't eat avocado anytime. But my wife gave me about half a avocado to eat this morning with some eggs and some bacon. I had to have coffee with no sugar. We're part-time fasting, so therefore we eat every 12 hours. This is to bring my weight down a little bit. I'll admit I've gained a few pounds. But she bailed on me in the gym this morning. She said, you know what, I'll come out. I'll be here later. You have fun. The objective, and I got it. She didn't have to fool me. She gave me the impression, I want you to come work out with me. And, of course, I don't want to disappoint my wife. I wake up in the morning, I get dressed. She goes, what are you doing? We're going to the gym. I thought we're doing a gym thing. Okay, gets up, I get in the gym. I start getting a rhythm. She turns around and says, yeah, I'm going to come later. Now, I can't quit now because I'm not a quitter. Well, unless it's cigarettes and booze, but you know what I mean. So I got to look like, I can do it. So I do it. I work out for a half an hour, and a good sweat. Watching Fox News, getting my morning on, drinking a hot cup of coffee with no sugar. She tells me I'm going to get used to it. I think she's lying. She's flat out lying. I'm not getting used to it. Coffee without sugar, it's just muddy water. That's all it is. There's no taste to it. Just tastes like dirty water. I'd rather just drink water, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing from now on. I'm just going to have to get up the old natural way. I'm not going to inject myself with caffeine. I'm just going to drink water.
No, there's things you have a little energy drink or something like that.
I won't do those things. Those things give me the jitters.
All right, so then Google some ingredients to make your own from real fruit.
Scratch, yeah.
And then, boom, you got it.
Okay. Last time I had an energy drink, I was hosting a hip-hop concert in Boston. Was it Das Effects, Chubb Rock, and I can't remember who Ed O.G. from Ed O.G. and the Bulldogs was up there as well. He co-hosted with me. Anyway, the only thing they had to drink was Diet Red Bull. I drank so many of those things, by the end of the day, I felt like somebody dipped my whole body in a glass of Alka-Seltzer. I had fuzziness all over. I felt like I was jittery.
Yeah, you're not supposed to drink that many.
Yeah, I think I had about 12.
Yeah, not in one day.
It was the only thing they had to drink.
Those energy drinks don't do anything for me.
No?
No, I don't get energized or anything. I get tired.
Yeah, they were the diet ones, and I at first I said, "Oh my God, this is awful." By the fifth can, I was like, "Nah, those will do."
I don't drink alcohol, so I use Red Bull as like my alcoholic drink.
Oh, is that your alcoholic beverage?
So when I go to like a restaurant, they ask me if I want to drink. I say yes. Do you have Red Bull? And they say yeah. And I said, yeah. Can you mix Red Bull with a pineapple juice, please? And that's my.
I'll have a Red Bull on the rocks.
Red Bull on the rocks with pineapple juice. Thank you.
Anyway, so yeah, Roland keeps telling me I'm going to feel better. I doubt it. So I'm just going to drink water. I'm going to come to grips. Look, I don't smoke anymore. In March, it'll be 5 years since I had a cigarette. Not bad, right? I should applaud myself. Why not? 5 years without a cigarette. Next June, will be 7 years without a drink. So, if I could do all of that, I'm sure I can give up sugar and fun. A clinical psychiatrist told me what I said. It was like, you know what? I've been off of alcohol for about a year. I said, you know what? I'm going to try cigarettes. The woman looked at me. She said, okay, slow down. Don't get ahead of yourself. Next thing you know, you're talking about you can fly. She goes, cigarettes are harder to get over than heroin. I was like, what? Now, having never done heroin, I didn't know what to gauge it off of, but I tried it anyway. And here we are, almost 5 years later. And I don't think about it. Roseanne smokes from time to time, and people I know smoke. In fact, my boys, at my moving company, they smoked all the time. It took me 2 years to get over the hankering, like the urge, but I got through it. Now, when people smoke around me, I don't even get the urge to smoke. Alcohol, same thing. Walk through the, wine aisle, because a big wine guy back in the day, or the beer aisle, no triggers. It's like, nope, I'm good. So maybe I can with sugar. If I give myself a chance, I think it's quite possible. Anyway, everyone is in the chat room ended up in the ER with drinking energy drinks. Goodness gracious, Wendy. Mike says, holy hell, it's sugar. Lemmy smoked 2 packs a day, a fifth of Jack a day, and lived on fried meat and cheese. Live a little. Look, I know that Lemmy did all of those things. He lived to a ripe old age. Okay? I'm not at Lemmy. It's funny because what was that meme of Charlie Sheen, and there's another meme of goodness gracious, the guitarist from Rolling Stones, Keith Richards, and he when Lamar Odom went on his bender, and there's a meme that says Keith Richards goes, you smoked crack, got drunk, and hung out with hookers. He goes, we call that a Tuesday. And Lamar Odom had a heart attack. Yeah, doing those things.
I have an uncle that it's crazy how biology works, because he did a lot of drugs. And he lived a long time, and his body was just used to him doing a certain amount of these different drugs.
Yeah.
And once he finally decided, you know what, I'm going to get clean, his body rejected it and he passed away.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Like his body had actually acclimated and just became accustomed to the drugs in its system and worked its way out.
And kept him alive.
Kept him alive. And then he cut it off, and the body said, don't recognize this guy.
Yep.
Shut her down.
Yep. And that's what happened. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens.
A year after he got clean and sober, a year later he was out of there.
Holy moly. Interesting. That's a crazy, yeah. I can totally understand that. Anyway, I just wanted to make that clear. So if I'm a little irritable today, it might be because of that. I'm trying something new. I'm trying to get used to it. All right. Let me begin with the opening monologue by saying this. Why is it that social justice is never extended to the children? Has anyone ever wondered that? There is never a social justice program for children. When we talk about social justice as of late, children have even been blamed for the things that people have complained about in the argument of social justice. You might remember Coca-Cola had these folks come into their corporate office telling them about anti-racism programs. And in the anti-racism programs, they were suggesting that your infant child and or toddler were showing signs of racism even at that young of an age. And that you were responsible for it because you were genetically predisposed as a child, that if your parents were white, you are going to grow up to be racist. It is also the case when it comes to transgenderism or, I don't know, sexuality in general. There always seem to be sacrificing the kids and especially their innocence. They tell children that they are innocent and they can't make decisions for themselves unless, of course, it's what gender they are or whether or not they should remove their genitalia. They all seem to be the ones that we take the social justice out on. We need to invent things that jeopardize children's innocence. Putting pornographic books in libraries. Having drag queens come to classrooms for story hour. What social justice is applied to children in any of these cases that benefits them? Nope. It all benefits the adults. Usually social justice affects the children most in a negative way. And we've been investigating lately, folks, as it relates to Mimi Torres, that social justice may have played a huge role in her death. And in many cases, the death of plenty of children. I am not suggesting that anyone is setting out to kill kids, but what I'm saying is, for the sake of social justice, they are putting children in harm's way because they are the last individuals who are ever considered when talking about social justice. It's about adults. It just is. The Mimi Torres story shows me something very interesting. So hear me out. What we know in Connecticut, just Connecticut, is that we have politicians who are actively protecting a group of people primarily based on their ethnicity. You see, when they're talking about illegals in the state of Connecticut, they're not talking about Afghan illegals. They're not even talking about Haitian illegals. They are predominantly speaking of Hispanic and Latino. Why? Because a majority of those who have come across the border illegally and have ended up in the state and in other places, but I'm just talking about Connecticut, tend to be Hispanic or Latino. And when you are trying to protect that community from scrutiny or bad press, who do you protect? Not the children. Because what do we know? How many times have we seen a story? Danbury, Hamden, Newington, New Britain, Bristol, Hartford. How many of the individuals who have been arrested have been charged for harming children? And how often are those stories swept under the rug? You have to find out about them on national news networks or maybe conservative-leaning media here in the state. You never hear the politicians who protect those groups ever say that it is shameful and it is horrible that those individuals were doing those things to those children and those people need to get out of here. You will never see a press conference with any of these guys. And yes, I'm talking to you, John Larson. Yes, I'm talking to you, Rosa DeLaura. Yes, I'm talking to you, Dick Blumenthal. Yes, I'm talking to you, Matt Lesser. Chris Murphy, too. There has never been a press conference of these folks who were saying, yes, these guys were bad. They were harming kids. But that doesn't mean that you sweep up everyone, because I can get down with that argument. Some of these people are innocent. These guys who did the crazy stuff, hurting kids, no. Those guys got to go. In fact, hold on. Give me a minute. I'll drive downtown with you. But no, they're ignored. Why? Because social justice is social justice. The kids be damned. The social justice is more important than the children. And Mimi Torres fell right into that trap. When we come back, I'm going to explain it to you. How social justice killed Mimi Torres and plenty of other kids in the state of Connecticut. In my opinion, through the neglect of DCF, protecting social justice, but not the children. And I have their own statements in my hand to prove it. We will not make any speculations. We will use their own platform to make the case. Go nowhere. More news, more views, and more on this topic when we return. It's Reese on the Radio on WTIC NewsTalk 1080.
Fan of WTIC? Then do us a favor. Download the free Odyssey app and favorite WTIC.
All right, we're back. Reese on the Radio, WTIC NewsTalk 1080. Quickly, I want to give a shout out to Peggy. Thank you, Peggy. Peggy gave me some alternatives for sugar in some other additives. I forwarded them to my wife. She is saying thank you as well. She just sent that to me. And I also want to thank Catherine M. For the kind words and thank you. Comparing me to my hero in any way whatsoever, forget about it. Warms my heart, and you're number one in my book automatically just for making that comparison. So thank you so much for that. You didn't have to, but thank you. Catherine said that it took a little time for me to grow on her, but she loves the show. And I expect that. I'm not typical. It isn't a typical show, and I knew that from the outset. That's what I think that's what garnered the attention of WTIC when they brought me here. It was like, yeah, he kind of does radio different. And I'm glad they recognized it, and I'm glad you did too, Catherine, as many of you have. And she also stated that at the beginning of the show, Roland, when we played the line from "And the Land of the Free and the Home of the Brave," She stops whatever she's doing. She puts her hand over her heart at the beginning of the show. Yeah, and again, that was the reason why I put it there. It's because it's my favorite part of the Star Spangled Banner. So that's why I put it there. Anyway, let's get to this part of the conversation. Her name is Susan Hamilton. She is the current head of the Department of Children and Families here in Connecticut. She serves as the interim commissioner appointed by Governor Ned Lamont in September of this year. Hamilton holds a Master of Social Work degree and a Juris Doctorate. She previously led the department from 2007 to 2011 and has been its general counsel since 2023. This followed the retirement of former Commissioner Jody Hill-Lilly in August of this year. As of November of 2025, no permanent replacement has been announced. So now we understand where we are and how we got here as far as Ms. Hamilton is concerned. This is what it says about Ms. Hamilton's background at DCF and her background as a child protection defense attorney. From 2014 to 2023, Hamilton served as a public defender and eventually director of delinquency defense and child protection for Connecticut's Division of Public Defender Services. In this capacity, she supervised attorneys, social workers, and investigators representing children, parents, and families in juvenile court matters involving DCF investigations. The work inherently involves challenging DCF petitions for child removal. I'll say it again. This work inherently involves challenging DCF petitions for child removal, neglect findings, or termination of parental rights, civil actions that can sometimes escalate to criminal charges for parents if evidence of abuse emerges. Her focus here was on protecting parental rights and ensuring fair processes, which aligns with cautious approach to state intervention, but doesn't equate to blanket opposition to prosecution in several cases. Now, that doesn't mean that she is gung-ho in charging families, but she is working as an advocate to end child removal when DCF recommends it. Why would anybody do that? Policies and statements as a DCF commissioner from 2007 to 2011. During her first term as commissioner, Hamilton helped develop Connecticut's differential response system, a framework that screens hotline reports of abuse or neglect. Low-risk cases, about 40% of the reports, are diverted from formal investigation routes, which often involve home visits, interviews, and potential court referrals, to voluntary support services like family counseling or referrals to nonprofits. Families can decline these without penalty, reducing the likelihood of escalation to prosecution or removal. This model, later fully implemented by her successor, emphasizes prevention and family unity over punitive measures. In response to criticism over a 2010 neglect case in Torrington, Hamilton stated, "The safety of children is our paramount concern. The department works to keep families together whenever that can be accomplished safely. She acknowledged concern about the DCF's interventions and committed to reviewing them, underscoring a preference for supportive rather than stricter prosecutorial responses." In legislative testimonies as a public defender on bills related to juvenile rights and statements, Hamilton advocated for stronger protections against coercive police or DCF questioning of minors, arguing that children need parental or guardian involvement to ensure voluntary decisions. While this focuses more on youth rights than parents, it reflects a systemic push for due process in child welfare cases, potentially limiting evidence that could support parental prosecutions. No records found her testifying against prosecutions in general. Her comments consistently balance child protection with family rights without rejecting accountability for abuse. But this is the best part. In summary, the rumor about Miss Hamilton being a defender of parents and not children, it's rooted in her defender background and family-centered policies, which could be seen as anti-prosecution. In the sense of favoring alternatives to court action, however, this is more accurately prescribed as pro-preservation and evidence-based intervention, not opposition to holding parents accountable in high-risk situations. If new details emerge, this could evolve. This is a breakdown of DCF cases in the past 10 years. Why are they relevant? Well, we noticed a pattern. Let's run through a few. In the past 10 years, reports to DCF are between 50,000 and 68,000 in the state. In 2024, the exact number was 67,795, with 40 to 50% accepted for response. Only half of them were responded to by DCF. Removals. They peaked in 2019 between 1,500 and 2,000 removals. That number currently sits at 800 to 1,000, with a focus on kinship care and reunification. That is Mimi Torres's case. Children in placement, point in time at the end of the fiscal year, it declined in 2015 at 4,200 to just 2,800 in 2024. This is an incredible drop in children in placement. For what reason would that drop, almost half, happen in that time? We looked into it. In 2021, the continued decline in kinship placements, DCF prioritized those cases for people of color. Why? Because at the time, the percentage of people who were in the system were 32% white, 23% black, 39% Hispanic, only 6% Asian. I say again, 32% in 2021 were white, 23 were black, 39 were Hispanic. The next year, in 2022, they noticed a disproportionate amount of black cases being sent to DCF. Those numbers declined from 2021, but they skyrocketed in 2022 for Hispanics. The number, in fact, from 2021 to 2024, the percentage rate went from 39 to 42% of all cases in the Hispanic community. 39, 40, 41, 42. What would have caused that kind of increase? a percentage point every year during 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. In that same year, ladies and gentlemen, the white community, the number was 32% to 31% to 30% to 29%. How about the black community? 2021 to 2024, the number was 23% to 22% to 21% to 20%. Whites and blacks, as far as DCF intervention, was declining. Hispanics went up 1% year to year. Why? Why? It's worth the question, isn't it? I think it's better than that. I think it's worth an answer. More and more people in every other community going down. Only Hispanics going up. And we had an administration that didn't want police intervention, but fought for reunification of parents. We'll come back. We'll break the rest of this down when we return. Stand by. It's Reese on the radio.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Now, I play all of this stuff for you, folks. If you're sticking around, we're talking about DCF and its efforts to keep parents involved with the children who are being seen by DCF, trying to keep the police out of the system, trying to keep the police out of it. They don't want police involvement. They don't want prosecution of parents. For whatever reason that is, it's only harming the children. This is nothing more than restorative justice. Why? Because if a certain group of people sees an increase in DCF calls and cases, somebody has decided that this is in some way a disenfranchising exercise. And this is all of their data I'm reading, not mine. I didn't find this so I can smear them. This is their own data. And they're the ones who make it clear that they wish to, for equity reasons, they need to decline the amount of people who are removed. In one case, in 2023, 900 equity audits show 20% fewer black removals. They're working on that, keeping the kids from being removed. What happened in 2023? Well, was it 2022? Nonetheless, if you have an active participation in protecting the status quo or not ruffling feathers as it relates to race, you are putting children in jeopardy. And they know this. Of course they know this. But it was them. It was in their own mission statements. Federal audit flags ongoing black overrepresentation. This was their audit in 2023. This is their own reviews. Since 2019, DCF's racial justice goal, one of 7 strategic priorities, includes de-identifying race in removal decisions, reducing black removals 20%. Who cares whether or not you're reducing black removals? In order to do that, you have to actually neglect the abuse that's happening in the child's life, don't you? That's the effort. So when Len Bestoff does this piece on NBC Connecticut, and who's the chief's name? I'm forgetting his name. Melanson, Chief Paul Melanson, said this in his piece. It was a teaser that Len Bestoff put out on NBC, but it didn't end up being in the final cut, which I was ticked off because I went to NBC Connecticut's website to go find it. Len had to send it to me personally so that I can have it for the show, and I thank Len for sending it to me. But this is an important thing to note. Again, this is from the Farmington police chief. Listen to what he said about the police when they went to Mimi Torres' house for a noise complaint.
The chief said his officers had no way of knowing a child was missing or that the Department of Children and Families had a history with Garcia.
But we work well together when DCF understands that there was a crime involved. But until that point that they've determined, that there's a crime or suspect that there's a crime, really there's not that collaboration. And so that does become sometimes an issue. So it is, I think, something that we will talk about. How can we better communicate? Now with the issue that occurred in Waterbury, now with the issue that occurred here in Farmington, how can we better communicate when, there's a child that maybe is, we'll say, unaccounted for?
And that's all the police chief is saying here is that if there was a coordination, if there was some way that the two would be involved, DCF and the police, they would have showed up and they would have had it there. They've got arrest warrants. Those individuals, they're looking them up in the event of a domestic violence issue. If that person has a warrant, if that person has a restraining order, by getting those folks' names, they run them through the system. The police do. Hey, I got John Johnson and Johnny Johnson. Yeah, just check him out for me. Yeah, he comes back with 2 warrants for domestic violence. Oh, yeah, you know what? Come with us, big guy. That's why. So why wouldn't DCF? Because the DCF doesn't want the police involved. And we know that. That's coming from them. They don't want the police involved. And if we're talking about Mimi's Law, if DCF really wants to change, if they want any reform, because remember, we're talking about a DCF complaint that may put lives in danger. Remember, that's the whole point. Like, DCF is not getting involved for something silly like the kid won't do his homework. When DCF is involved, we're talking about child neglect, which in my view is a crime already. Right? I mean, if you've got DCF involvement and someone is calling about it, in essence, a DCF complaint is about the welfare of a child. How is it not criminally related in any way? An investigation must ensue for what? For what? Whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony, there has to be, at least for the parent, if they're doing something that is neglectful, that puts the child in harm's way, you at least have to have the parent know, hey, if I don't feed my kid, if I don't, properly take care of my kid, I could possibly be hemmed up for that. But if DCF is working interference for the family or the parent, for that matter, to make sure that they don't get in trouble with the law, that's not benefiting the kid at all. And you can't be doing it for stats. Not for racial stats, even. That's reckless. I don't know how else to put it. We'll take a break. We'll lay out some more of this stuff. Let's get to the WTIC newsroom. It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC, News Talk 1080.
I know I heard you say that it was like 2 minutes. I just flat out ignored it. I just ignored it because I got caught up looking at something else. Let's get to some headlines. Why does it always sound low? A study by the Texas personal injury law firm known as Angel Reyes and Associates examined the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's fatality analysis reporting system to identify which highways are seen with the highest number of fatal crashes over the past 3 years. The Golden State, California, outsized presence on the list reflects both its massive population and the unique dangers posed by its high-traffic corridors. But congratulations goes to Hartford because you made the list. Hartford made the list of the top 100 most dangerous highways in America. Do you dare to guess what number Hartford landed on and which highway? Do you want to go for it? You're a gambling man, Roland. Come on. Which highway do you think made the top 100 dangerous highways on this list? Which highway in Connecticut, and where do you think it placed on the list?
I'm going to say 84.
Ding, 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 ding. You're 100% right. It was I-84.
Okay.
In Hartford specifically is where it ranked. Where did it rank, do you think, in the top 100 of most dangerous highways? In essence, most fatalities in 3 years. Where do you think it ranked?
I'm going to say number 7.
Oh, damn. No prize for this guy. Oddly enough, for the first time, Hartford has something to celebrate. Hartford landed at the 100th spot.
Oh, that's good. All right. That makes me feel a lot better.
It makes me feel better, too. In 3 years, I-84 in Hartford has suffered 20 fatalities, ranking itself at number 1 in the top 100. I mean, number 100 in the top 100.
All right. I mean, it's still sad.
That's still sad, yes. But
it's not like the rattiest city.
It's not like the rattiest.
That's why I was confused.
Yeah, you would hope that it would be just up there with the rattiest, Number 5 for rattiest, number 7 for most fatalities on a highway. No, that just turned out to be 20 in the last 3 years.
So they got a lot. They're the rattiest, but they're
safer.
They're keeping people alive on the roads.
At least. That you can at least be thankful for. The United States Mint yesterday did its final circulation of the 1 cent coin. The Philadelphia facility yesterday ended its 232 years of continuous penny production. The penny had its roots in the early republic. Congress first authorized the copper one in 1792 in the Coinage Act. And production at the mint began shortly thereafter. Since 1909, the coin has borne the prolific photo of Abraham Lincoln, and they said, in the God Bless America thing, and they said that they're going to save $56 million in order, once they've stopped production, which happened yesterday. I do believe that, if I remember this correctly, it costs 3 to 4 cents to produce 1 penny. It costs more to make, which again, that baffles my mind. I just don't understand why they continue to do it. Democrats, there go your voting blocks. For the second straight year, about 1 in 5 Americans say that they would like to leave the U.S. and move permanently to another country if they could. This heightened desire to migrate is driven primarily by young women. In 2025, 40% of women aged 15 to 44 say that they would move abroad permanently if they had the opportunity. The current figure is 4 times higher than the 10% who shared this desire back in 2014, when it was generally the line with older age and gender groups at the time. So, ladies, if you got to go, you got to go. You got to go. You got to go. What is the stat? I got to look this up. What is the stat for every guy? Don't they say like for every guy there's 2 women, or for every guy there's 3 women? 1.5. You actually looked this up. You know the actual number. What is it? Wait. Is this a field of expertise for you? You know exactly the number. 1.5 for every guy?
I think that's what it is in the U.S.
In the U.S. Okay. Because I know it's rougher in China.
Yeah, and I only looked that up because we
I got to hear this story.
Me and my friends had a group discussion about was it polygamy?
Oh, okay.
So we were seeing what was the ratio for women to men, and
so you looked it up.
That. So yeah,
so he had that stat at the ready. Hey, you know what? God bless him for the off the clock research done by Roland and his homies. Yeah. So if, in essence, if these women were to leave, then it wouldn't really affect men in this country and ability to find a mate. So, okay, that happens. That happens. Okay, this one's a long one. I've got to go for this, the stupidest thing I read today.
Yes, you do. Stupid as can be. This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
As I said yesterday, the Epstein files have made its way to front page news again. And unfortunately, for all you people who are chomping at the bit to talk about this should be embarrassed. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Because I get it. I know it's salacious, and many of you think, boy, this is a thorn in Donald Trump's side, and this is going to really railroad his campaign and railroad his presidency. And I keep telling folks, stop embarrassing yourself. Can you please stop embarrassing yourself? Because every time it's brought up, we get horrible, horrible news on this front. Now, I'm going to play some audio for you real quick that you need to listen to. This is audio from Michael Wolff. This is the guy who is in the email back and forth with Jeffrey Epstein. The email that said, as John Silver reported yesterday on this show, that says Donald Trump knew about the girls. End quote. Donald Trump knew about the girls. End quote. This is what that author, who is in a back and forth exchange with Jeffrey Epstein, said last year about Jeffrey Epstein and his exchanges with him. Listen.
At that point, Epstein's legal problems began. The police began to investigate him over allegations that he was, that there were underage women coming to his house. Epstein believed that it was Trump who first informed the police about what was going on at Epstein's house. And from that point on, they were nothing but bitter enemies.
That's right. They were nothing but bitter enemies. Because, as I've told you before, many people have reported that Donald Trump was an FBI informant because he had personal dealings with Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein was trying to poach girls from Mar-a-Lago for his personal stead. Okay? We all know that. But here's the stupidest thing I read today. Same guy. Discredited author Michael Wolff once encouraged Jeffrey Epstein to blackmail then-president candidate Donald Trump back in 2015, insisting that the convicted pedophile could generate a debt from him. The Trump-obsessed writer email exchanges with Epstein were among a trove of documents released by the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday. In one email, Wolff floated the possibility of intimidating Trump for his own benefit. As he warned Epstein that the then GOP candidate could be asked about their alleged ties while on the campaign trail. Quote, I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in a scrum afterwards. I think you should let him hang himself, he added. If he says he hasn't been on the phone or at your house, then that gives you valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates positive benefit for you. Or, if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. So what was Michael Wolff trying to get Jeffrey Epstein to do? To leverage Donald Trump in one way or another, saying you could get Donald Trump to give you a favor, perhaps a pardon, or you can get political cover, if not media cover, because you could be the guy who could suggest Donald Trump and you had a relationship, and it would benefit the media's efforts to take Donald Trump down. That's what Michael Wolff is talking about. Of course, it's possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal or is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in the Trump regime, Wolff noted. He also mused that Epstein could be the bullet to end Trump's 2016 campaign if he decided to openly discuss their past ties, and suggested that Epstein should have a strategy in place. Quote, the more Trump looks real, or perish the thought, inevitable, the more reporters are going to be focused on this. So, as you will not be surprised, you need a strategy, the author noted in a January 2016 email exchange. In February of 2016, Epstein responded to Wolf, noting that he's being approached by more reporters as Trump's popularity in the polls grow. He said, quote, this is what Wolf said. Yeah, you're the Trump bullet. New York Times called me about you and Trump. Also, Hillary's campaign's digging deeply. That's ironic. Again, you should consider preempting. Right before the election, Wolf again suggested Epstein could tank Trump's campaign with an email subject line that read, now could be the time. There's an opportunity to come forward this week and talk about Trump in such a way that could garner you great sympathy and help finish him. Interested? Okay, now do we get it? This is Wolf, the guy that everyone's relying on with all of these, talking about and trying to use Jeffrey Epstein to undermine Trump's campaign. And saying, the media would love you, Jeffrey Epstein, if you were to help them destroy him. We get it yet? I'm so happy that you do. 860-522-WTIC. Let's go to Lynn. Hello, Lynn.
Hi. I'm calling because I've listened to WTIC. I listened to Rush Limbaugh for years. But today I tried to call Eric Erickson to talk about what he was saying about the tariffs. And they literally hung up on me.
Were you going to hold on? Let me ask you this, Lynn. I heard Eric Erickson's, I think he posted an X video today talking about his criticism of Donald Trump's tariffs, and he used coffee as his litmus test for why Donald Trump needs to stop the tariffs. Were you going to call to counter Eric on that?
Oh, yeah. Well, he was referencing like all food because of the tariffs, and all wood and all steel.
Yes.
When they're building $20 billion steel mill,
yes.
I think in Ohio.
Yes.
So that's why I was calling. But like I said, it really, really got me upset. I will never listen to him again.
Well, look, listen, I said this, Lynn. I watched the video myself, and I get Eric Erickson's sort of newsletter every day. And again, this isn't about bashing him. I disagree with him on a host of things. And sometimes I just said to Roland yesterday, it's like sometimes I wish people would just say that, look, I just don't support Trump and this be the end of it. People these sort of like twisting themselves into pretzels to 1 minute, say that, I support him, and the next minute say you're not. Just like say you're not a Trump fan and just do your thing. But you're 100% right. I saw that thing that he was talking about tariffs, but that's because he doesn't like tariffs. That's all it is. Eric Erickson has made that clear for his entire career. He doesn't like tariffs.
Well, I'd like him to bring back Tom Shattuck because I'm definitely not going to listen to WTIC during the day.
Oh, come on!
No.
Well, at least listen to my show, Lynn.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I will always listen to you. But I was also calling about the DCF issue.
Yeah, what do you got?
Because I grew up in Hartford, my whole problem, even when I was 10, 12, 13 years old, is the DCF people. They call it DCF now. It used to be DCYF.
Yep.
Yep. They work from 9 to 5, and they can't wait to get out of the city, to rush home to their suburbs, because they're scared to death to be there. I know people that work there, and they were scared to death to be there. But they need to be going to these homes where they're getting welfare, subsidies, whatever, in these cases, every single home between 6 and 9 o'clock at night, and see what's really going on in those homes.
You're 100%
and really checking on these children. because these people know they're leaving at 5 o'clock, and Lord have mercy, I've seen what happens after they leave at 5 o'clock.
They've got, listen,
I've seen it. I lived there.
Lynn, they have literal blood that is on every person's hand in that place who have been neglectful of the children, from falling out of buildings to beating, deaths to everything. They know damn well. And it is so, and again, to go over these numbers, this was their stuff. The fact that they are dealing with children in neglectful situations and their focus is on racial equity could not put more kids in danger.
Exactly. And like I said, their boyfriends work all day. They come home between 6 and 9 o'clock at night with whatever baby's mama they got out of, 3 or 4 or whatever. But they're there. You're paying for everything, but their boyfriends are working all day, coming home, and the people in Connecticut are paying their rent, lights, groceries, all this other kind of stuff. Wake up, people.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate you.
Okay.
You got it. Tommy, what's going on, sir? Tommy, you there?
That start? Oh,
yeah, that's you, buddy. What's up?
You can turn the heat, or if you leave the heater on,
Who
work.
Tom? Are you talking to me? Or are you talking to somebody else?
Sorry, I was talking to my mechanic. Reese, hey,
what's up, buddy?
Hey, not only is Epstein an evil person, but I heard yesterday, his island is terrible, but I heard yesterday that a scientist says Epstein's bar may be responsible for lupus.
His bar? No. Like, what do you mean? Like his bar, like bar and grill, like a tavern kind of deal?
No, Epstein's bar. It's a joke.
Oh.
Have you ever heard of Epstein's bar?
No.
I didn't hear about it. It's a mutation in people.
Oh.
They said yesterday it could be responsible for lupus in people.
I apologize. That joke is lost on me, and I feel horrible.
Man.
I stepped all over it.
I've been waiting all day to drop that out.
Sorry about that, Tom.
That's all right. I will, with this, everyone's saying, Trump was friends with Epstein. He was like a casual acquaintance.
He was friends with everybody. I mean, to say that Trump was a friend of his gives the impression that no one was but Trump. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, if you ever want to listen, here's an interesting part, Tom, and this is what I say to people who keep making it about Trump. If you ever want to see Trump suck the oxygen out of a room, Jeffrey Epstein is a perfect example. Why? Because we've known about Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton for eons. But now when it's politically expedient to hang his hat on Donald Trump, everyone's acting like Jeffrey Epstein had no other friends in Hollywood or in politics ever. It ignores the fact that Epstein loved Clinton so much that he had a painting of him in a blue dress in his house that I'm sure Clinton saw and did not object to. So
that's what it drives me so crazy. I got to get over it, but I wish for once a liberal media would kind of bring up those kind of points. As far as I know, he's never been to the island, right?
No, there were some flights, but they were always to either Mar-a-Lago or to New York, and there's nothing that suggested he's ever landed on that island at all.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that.
But no, because the liberal media always say, he's been to his location, or they vaguely reference. They don't say island, but
Tom, I'll go this far because I got to go. I'll go this far. Remember what the headline was yesterday? Trump knows about the girls. That sentence alone was the headline yesterday. And that was made to, you could just dream up anything you want based on that line. It was ridiculous. I'm hoping that it's over with and we could just move on. Thank you, boss. I appreciate you, man. Let's take a break. We'll be back. More news, more views. Coming up at 4:05, we got Chris Powell from ChrisPowellColumn.com. And we'll take your phone calls as well. It's Reese on the radio.
Hi, this is Robert H. Steele, one of the sons of WTIC's Bob Steele. Wishing WTIC a very happy anniversary.
Absolutely appropriate. Anyway, I actually saw the I didn't realize it before. Is that Reese and Bob Steele Way? I just saw that in Hartford a couple of weeks ago. Bob Steele's street. He has a street named after him downtown. Yeah, I just saw it recently, and I was just like, oh, that's nice. And I don't even know when it was there. Somebody will tell me. Anyway, dovetailing in the conversation earlier about DCF, there was something interesting that I found in the news today. So imagine we have the Waterbury case with the mom who's had the stepson locked up for 20 years. And then we have Mimi Torres. And even before those cases, we also had like close to 3,000 parents show up railing against any efforts to intervene in homeschooling in the state of Connecticut. And with that, many parents in the homeschooling space felt threatened because they had had enough with school curriculums or whatever was going on. And they had decided that they were going to take matters in their own hands and teach their kids. And that makes sense, as it should. And then these two cases, Waterbury and Farmington, those happen. And Newsweek puts this article out. And the only reason why I'm reading it is because I got to be honest, Newsweek's a national publication, online. But they make mention of Connecticut in this article. And I think the article is saying what we all know. I thought we were sticking a fork in homeschooling. I thought we were demonizing homeschooling so effectively people would stop doing it. But no, Newsweek writes an article that says this: why homeschooling is still on the rise, no matter what their efforts. Because that's the new tactic now. Demonize the opposition. You don't want the state to run the education of your children. The only way that we can stop this is if we go after you. We call you a bunch of MAGA kooks, conservative Christians. What's the new one? Christian nationalist. That's another favorite one of mine. Someone said that to me, actually. They said, you're a Christian nationalist. I'm like, dude, that doesn't exist. That's not a thing. It's a made-up media thing. Like, if you ever want to tell me that you watch too much MSNBC is when you start repeating the made-up phrases that they use. Like, it's a tell. Like, that's how I know that your thoughts aren't original. You keep forgetting. So you've considered yourself so smart by saying, oh, that Reese guy, he just watches Fox News all day. No, I don't. I watch MSNBC, CNN, and what's the other one? News Nation. I watch ABC, CBS, and NBC. I watch all the liberal news, all of them. And I pay attention to what they report and why they report it. And if they're reporting the same thing, I actually videotape what they're reporting and the words that they use to find out who is the person who gave them their marching orders. Because it's all PR. Those folks do not give you the news. They recite it. And then you do the same thing. So when you use the made-up phrases like Christian national, you've already exposed yourself. You're not original. You're a puppet. Just so you know. Why is homeschooling still on the rise? It's simple. You haven't made a case yet for putting the kids back in public school. It is attracting more and more families. Homeschooling is. It is, no matter what. Here's some of the background. Focusing on U.S. families with examples like Connecticut, Newtown near Sandy Hook, of all places, New Fairfield, homeschooling has evolved from niche back in 2019 to a viable alternative, accelerated by the COVID-19 crisis. There's a broader education landscape, according to most families. Public schools face scrutiny over safety, curriculum, rigidity, culture wars. Now, they try to say that it was based on Republican-led restrictions and race and sexuality topics. But guess what? That's not the only thing. It is so far going out of the scope of just being Christian or Catholics or conservatives. Now other families are getting their kids the hell out of Dodge because they want their kids to have a chance. But here's the interesting part about this data. Homeschooling rose from 2.8% of school-age children in 2019, to 5.82% in 2022 and 2023, and 5.92% in 2023 and 2024, nearly doubling pre-pandemic rates. The pandemic sparked a fever pitch surge, but retention is high as families adapt. They say 83% cite school environment, safety. The school environment comes out at 83%. Safety is 72%. Academic dissatisfaction at 50%. Religious instruction are some of the other things. And they also control non-traditional approaches and values misalignment. Even though the outcomes are mixed, I want you to think about this. From 1999 to 2010, it shows that 23% lower attendance rates versus public school peers. Socializations addressed via co-ops and programs, so kids don't have a problem socializing with other kids. Here are some of the motivators. Core drivers are safety, like I said. Sandy Hook. Violence at Sandy Hook played a role in Connecticut. Customization for gifted kids. Because remember, they got rid of those programs in a lot of these schools. Families use co-ops, online tutorials, and hybrid models. Single working parents succeed with community support in a lot of these programs. They do say that 50% of the kids who graduate go to college. I'd say that's comparable, if not better, than the public school model, without a doubt. But the article is, in essence, supposed to trash homeschooling because they can't believe that it's actually growing in numbers. Many people believe that public schools were actually getting a good rap, but they're not. And when you have the scandals of like Waterbury, you have the scandal of Mimi, and you have those people constantly putting out over and over again, is homeschooling being used for people to abuse their children? Is homeschooling bad? Do we need more oversight for homeschooling? Connecticut has no real oversight on homeschooling. And then the Newsweek article comes out and says, well, why is it still successful? Why is it still growing? Education is continuing to fail. How do you not see that? Do you see? I mean, folks, I don't know what you go online for. I don't know what your algorithm, it shows you when you go online. But just watch one of these videos where the kids are out talking to their peers, asking them questions about what country is Hawaii in? Who won the Civil War? And you have kids say Spain. I mean, I'm serious. Go watch some of these videos and you ask yourself, boy, I don't even know if those kids could have survived homeschooling, if that would have saved them. Many of you are saying, I don't think their parents schooling them would have helped. You're probably right. I digress. You're probably right. Their only salvation may be public school. They were screwed from the start. What am I talking about? I've seen their parents too. I have. I would never allow those. I mean, if some of these kids' parents actually did homeschool, I would absolutely champion Connecticut getting restrictions on homeschooling if those people thought they were qualified. I could teach my babies. I'd be like, no. I would help Lamont intervene on that one. No, I got your back, Lamont. Sit down. I got you. Aaron says, that is my wife, homeschooled all 3 of our kids. Best thing we ever did. Connecticut is one of the best states to homeschool in. Well, you know what's interesting about that, Aaron? I think that Connecticut may be the most needed for homeschooling because it's gotten so ridiculous as a state, if you get my meaning. When it comes to teaching children, what other choice do you have? When you have these guys like Bob Duff talking about, pornography in the kids? Yeah, absolutely. All for it. When you have that happening, how do you not? Aaron also says, do it. You get to spend time with them, and you get to go to all the good museums and other attractions during school hours when nobody's there. There are perks. I actually like that. That's a pretty good idea. Makes sense. Yeah, but that's the whole thing. Newsweek is trying to ask, how's homeschooling surviving? Haven't we bashed it enough? Haven't we demonized it enough? Nope. Not when it comes to people's children. Not at all. You know what? Hold on. Let me see if I can do this real quick. Let's go here. Nope, sorry. Wrong place. That was my bad. Hold on. Laura, do me a favor. Can you hold on until the next break?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hold on for me. Did you want to chime in about homeschooling?
Yes, sir.
You got it. Hold on. I'm going to put you on hold here real quick. That's it right there. And we'll come back with Laura in a second. Stand by. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, we are back. Let's get to Laura on the line about homeschooling. How are you, Laura?
I'm well. I just came to give a kudos to homeschooling. I homeschooled my children.
How many?
I have 6 children.
Holy moly, you have a classroom.
Yes, I think so. Anyway, I homeschooled all of my children from beginning to end.
Okay.
And they all launched very successfully. I had 4 college graduates.
Wow.
And I have 2 who are serving in the U.S. military right now. So it was a very good plan for my kids and my family.
Can I ask, what year did you begin homeschooling on the oldest child, and what year did that begin? And then tell me why you chose it.
We started homeschooling in 1996 when it was still kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I homeschooled because I wanted to shape the life of my children. I wanted to shape their character and their ability to, love life, enjoy life, love their family, develop good Christian values.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt that if you send them off to public school for hours and hours, the days at public school have gotten longer and longer, someone else was shaping their values.
Right.
And there's a lot of deprogramming that you got to do. And then, and then as I had more children at schooling at the same time, it became more of a cooperative effort. And, I was learning great things right alongside of them.
Okay.
And we were flexing all the time to what was fun, what was, enjoyable to learn. I really wanted my kids to love learning.
Right.
And they love to learn.
So you're talking 1996, and it's interesting you said that, when it was weird, because I remember the first time I'd ever met anyone who had been homeschooled, and it was like in the early 2000s. And the first thing that ran through my mind was, how did you learn to socialize? And this was a single child. And I was like, how did you learn to socialize with other kids? And I was like, I socialize. It's just like, I'm talking to you. I'm like, yeah, well, I guess that makes sense. But
my kids were involved in other activities.
Right.
And they also were socialized by me. I taught them how to interact with other people. They were kind, and they were courteous and respectful and engaging. They were contributors to the environments that they were in. So that was taught by our family values as well. So.
It's so interesting because I will tell you, So I had my first child ever. It was my only child. All the rest of my children are stepchildren. But I had my only son and my only child ever in 1992. And I will admit, if I would have been in his life, or if I would have been with his mother for most of his life, I would have been a homeschooler. And I'll tell you why. Because I had my son, or my wife had my son, but I had him when the term helicopter dad or helicopter mom first began. And I fit that description to a T. When he first got home from the hospital, I slept on the floor by his bassinet with a pocket mirror, and I would put it under his nose every half hour just to make sure he were alive, and I never changed ever since. So I would have been perfect for homeschooling, because I get it. It's sort of like, you want to shape the life and the future of that child, and you may not get that or a chance to unindoctrinate them in the school system, right?
Right. It is a great way to build a great family, because you're all working at growing together. And, versus on the public school system, every child is segregated. Every child is told they are the most important. And so I also did activities that we could all do together, they could do together, so that I wasn't driving all over the place with them. My husband worked a lot of hours and worked shift work, so it was really me on deck most of the time.
But Laura, I just want to say to you, Laura, thank you so much for calling in and sharing your experience with me. Please call back, because I'm sure we're going to talk about this much more in the future, and I want your perspective, okay?
Thank you for allowing me to share.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Let's get a first check of our weather and traffic. Mark Christopher.
It's Reese on the radio. And don't say we didn't warn you on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Sometimes you hear a name and you know that person was born in the 80s. Congratulations to Devin V. of Enfield. Nobody older than me is ever named Devin. Devin is the recipient of a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds, the Bagel Bakery and Sandwich Cafe, located in South Windsor, Vernon, and Manchester. If you'd like to win, you got to go to ReeseOnTheRadio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. By the way, you don't just have to go to apply to get bagels. You can check out my Substack if you like. Some good stuff in there, In fact, this week's entry is about Oakley Dokley running for governor again to no fanfare. Hey, look, he's on the screen. You know who Oakley Dokley is. That's Governor Lamont. Somebody called here earlier and said, I call him Howdy Doody. Yeah, I know that. That's low-hanging fruit. That's not it's funny, but not as funny as Oakley Dokley. Come on, when you listen to Lamont speak, Oakley Dokley. It just sounds like that. When we come back, we got Chris Powell from Chris Powell Reports. When we return, let's get to Mark Christopher. He's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Ned Flanders, governor of Connecticut. There you go.
That's why I call him Oakley Dokley.
There you go.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Did I do that? There we go. Thank you. We're back. Reese on the radio. News Talk 1080 WTIC. And by the way, I got the name of the website wrong. It is ChrisPowellColumn.com. Joining us on the phone is none other than the incomparable Chris Powell. How are you, sir?
I'm very good to be with you, Reese. Thank you.
Man, always a pleasure to have you here. You are always my go-to because I love your writing and I love the stuff that you write about. And this particular article, and I thought I had it in front of me, I didn't. You did this story about the homeless population being put into some of this so-called affordable housing. And you brought in a contrast of Hearst reporting that was talking about many of the people who are homeless versus those who should be in this affordable housing that the governor and others in the Democrat Party are fighting for. But what makes this so interesting in your report, as you lay out, is some of the people they wish to be helping would, in essence, be ineligible for all of this housing. Lay this out for everybody.
Well, I'm afraid that the housing legislation that the legislature approved yesterday is not going to produce much housing. It tinkers with zoning requirements. It teaches tinkers with parking requirements. It leaves the responsibility for increasing housing construction in Connecticut very diffuse, divided among towns and the state and developers and zoning boards. I'll be very surprised if this legislation produces even 1,000 housing units in the first year of its enactment. And housing supply is an urgent problem in Connecticut, but we have a far more urgent problem that the Hearst papers reporting the other day showed us, and it's the problem of the homeless.
Right.
The Hearst story, and they interviewed a score or more of homeless people around the state. They had 20 reporters and photographers working on this. This is a huge, heroic project.
Right.
But we've got at least 800 people in the state who are sleeping outside on any particular night. We've got 3,000 people living in shelters on any particular night. We've got uncounted people who are bouncing around, between their cars and friends' couches and
yep.
Just tenting under overpasses and things like that. Social workers say 132 homeless people have died in Connecticut this year, and I'm sure they're having to live outside or homeless contributed to the decline in their health. This is a problem even more urgent than our need for affordable housing, and we're not really doing anything about it. The Hearst report said that often the state's emergency housing line doesn't even pick up, and even when it does pick up, there's no shelter space, there's no cots available to put people in. Now, this is a solvable problem. Mm-hmm. I mean, during COVID, we briefly remade the Hartford Convention Center into a big COVID ward.
That's right.
We stacked it with cots. We were ready to put dozens and dozens of people there in an emergency. I do not understand why we have not responded to this homeless problem the same way. We have enormous property in the state, abandoned, shopping centers and office buildings.
That's correct.
Could be, converted very simply into emergency barracks for homeless people. And I don't understand why, we're not doing this now. If you read the Hearst story closely, I think you would realize that many of the homeless people in the state, people living on the street, are mentally ill. Many have drug problems, or they're recovering from drug problems. Many are old and broken down. Many are slackers, I'm sure. They're just not used to supporting themselves.
Many people actually, and it's so funny because this is sort of like the I guess the story that you're not supposed to say out loud, but you said the part about slackers. There are some people who prefer to be homeless and off the grid, making their money through panhandling. It would not come off the street if given the opportunity.
Yeah, well, I'd still, risk classifying them as mentally ill. And many of these people are just generally incompetent in life. I mean, they belong in a supervised environment. Well, we should have more of these supervised environments. I mean, we should have more of what is called supportive housing, studio apartments that have social workers and a medical clinic in the building, and these people get daily attention, and we try to bring them back into life. Now, a lot of these people, I'm sure, are just not going to be cured. We may need more mental hospitals as well. But even so, there's something in the Bible about the least of these, my brethren, and that is these people. And we're just standing by, not doing anything about it.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. We're on the phone with Chris Powell, the writer. You can find out all of his columns at chrispowellcolumn.com. The thing about this article that I thought was interesting about the homeless part, and you have already mentioned this, is, as you said, the sort of myriad of different problems that many of these homeless people, and I guess according to the Hearst report, we're looking at probably at best about 3,000 to 5,000 homeless people altogether? Is that what the number looks like?
If you want to count the people who are in the shelters, supposedly there's about 3,000 people living in shelters around the state every night, and it's not enough for the homeless population. Because I didn't mention there's a lot of people in Connecticut who are on the verge of being evicted because they can't afford their rents anymore.
Exactly. So what do you think that the governor is talking about or the legislature is talking about when they mean affordable housing? Are they talking about low-income families? Are they talking about these groups? Like, do they not know who they're talking about? Or is that sort of like anonymous at this point?
I think they know they're talking about housing that can be rented by, people of typical average incomes, especially people, who are in lesser paid jobs. Right. And we have thousands of people in Connecticut who are in what is called the Alice category. I guess it's a limited income category where people are spending 30 or 50% of their income on their rent. Inflation has driven up rents, and there's a lot of people are really at the end of their rope.
Explain something to me that I never seem to get because no one ever talks about this. So you have affordable housing, right? I always believe that Democrats in this case, and even the governor for that matter, is looking at the goal but forgetting the journey. Because if these folks are paying what's, let's say a limited income to stay in these homes, the repair cost for these landlords or these developers always goes up. How is it financially feasible for these developers to have low-income housing? Isn't this sort of hustling backwards? You're bringing in people who cannot in no way ever see an increase in their income so that you can, one, either raise the rent as it applies to COLA, cost of living expense or whatever. You can never raise the rents on these folks for any reason, no matter what happens, be it inflation, the cost of living, any of that. They're always going to have to keep these at a fixed income rate. So what happens when damages need to be, or things need to be fixed or repaired in these units? Does the developer just lose money?
Yeah, well, Connecticut is certainly discouraging people from becoming landlords. The new housing bill, the bill that they passed yesterday in the legislature, it has a vast expansion of rent control in it. It requires all towns with 15,000 or more people to have rent control boards or fair rent boards, and the towns of lesser population are supposed to join in having regional fair rent panels. Well, that's rent control. Would you become a landlord in any town with rent control? That's not the solution. That's a hindrance to housing. What I think we should do, Reese, is have the state get directly into the property acquisition business for housing. Look, we've got enormous vacant and decrepit property in our cities.
Yes, sir.
All you have to do is drive through or take the train through Bridgeport, and you can see all these decrepit mill buildings. You go to Waterbury, you go to Hartford. There's lots of them.
Yeah.
They're vacant. They're decrepit. You've got a lot of rundown tenements. The state could take these properties by eminent domain, lease them to developers, approve their plans for multifamily housing, and require them to get the housing built by a certain time, or the state would take the property back. I think that'd be a lot more productive than expecting all these suburban towns to hassle with developers over smaller projects. And I don't think people would be upset if the state was taking over these decrepit properties.
I couldn't agree more. It would
it's new.
It's beautification, if anything, right, of some of our major cities. If there were Bridgeport and Hartford and things like that, what do you think? Can I ask you this before you go? Because I talked about this. I think it was yesterday, and there's this really, really strong push by the legislature to get this bill to these towns that have been pushing it back tooth and nail, and people have called them NIMBYs or for whatever reason. I don't think they're NIMBYs. I think they're right to stop this. But why do you think there's such an effort to get this kind of low-income housing in these areas? Is it to teach suburbanites a lesson? Is it to teach them humility? Is it for them to see what the other half lives like, or to give them an opportunity to live in plush neighborhoods like these folks have earned the right to do?
Well, I'm sure there's some punitive attitude to it, but in fairness, look, I've been around a long time, and I've seen towns that just have outlawed multifamily housing.
Right.
I think we need all sorts of integration in Connecticut. We need racial integration. We need economic class integration, and that requires a variety of housing and a variety of towns. However,
but hold on, Chris. But for what reason do we need those things?
We need those things for societal cohesion. I mean, I think we need the races to get along and appreciate each other. We need the ethnic groups to get along. We need the economic groups to get along.
I don't think that works, Chris. I don't think that works by forcing them to live with one another. I don't think that ever works.
It's not forcing, but giving people an opportunity. We have.
Hey, that's how I moved to the suburbs. How I moved to the suburbs was I got a good job, I got a good paying job, and I moved to the suburbs. No one ever stopped me.
No, and a lot of us moved to the suburbs because we wanted to get away from the underclass, which is antisocial and full of crime, and it runs the schools down. And that, I think, is a far greater reason why people are suspicious of so-called affordable housing,
right?
Than racism or anything else is. We manufacture poverty in our cities in a number of ways: welfare policy, education policy,
right.
And anybody who wants to be middle class wants to get away from it, and they don't want the cities following them into the suburbs.
And don't they have but with all due respect, listen, I even say that for the kids who used to live in the inner cities, whose parents worked really hard, got good paying jobs, and moved to the suburbs. Look, I believe as a society we must have that sort of, that difference, right? We need to have the slum. I just had a discussion with somebody in Buffalo when I was filling in there, and the guy said, look, all of us need our struggles to build character. I don't think that we should eliminate people's struggles and just start putting them in affluent neighborhoods because we need racial cohesion. That's nonsense to me.
Well, yes, and that's welfare, and welfare is very demoralizing.
Indeed.
You find all these people, single women with 5 or 6 kids, no job skills, no husbands, and they're expecting to live off the state. Food stamps, rent subsidies, Medicaid. Who gave them the idea that, you're not supposed to support your own kids?
Exactly.
Welfare is demoralizing.
And that's the whole reason why I'm saying that with all of that and with the people who are in those positions, I don't want to reward them with nice neighborhoods. With all due respect, I'm just saying, we've already given them all the tax dollars in the world. Now we're going to give them nice neighborhoods to boot and haven't earned it. One of the biggest problems we have in our society is there isn't enough sweat equity in our country. And even in this state, is that people who've moved to those communities, as much as people try to say, oh, those people, were bought into or were raised into that kind of wealth. That's not true for a lot of families. A lot of people earn their right to live in those peaceful communities because they worked hard and bought a home and moved there. I don't think that anybody should skip the line and get there for free or have it subsidized.
I respect them too, but we got to keep in mind that inflation is just destroying the lower class and the middle class in this country. We need to bring down the cost of living. Not everybody, who can't afford his apartment is a welfare slob.
Fair. And again, I don't blanket any one of them, but I just say I agree with the communities that say, look, man, I worked hard to move into this community, and just because people want either cohesion or, as you put it, punitively wish to put people in those communities so that they can understand what the underclass is like, I think that's a joke, and I think they only harm themselves with their constituents when they do it. So,
I think we understand very well what the underclass is like, and that's why we don't want to be part of it.
Yes, exactly. We don't need a refresher.
But who in Connecticut is going to elevate the underclass? Who is going to examine the welfare system?
I'm going to nominate the underclass. I'm going to nominate the underclass to get the underclass out of that position. And the reason why is because I believe in self-reliance. And maybe that's unfair, but maybe people think that I should be more compassionate about that, but I am compassionate. I'm compassionate in the sense of I think that we can all do it. But, that's it.
State government is giving poor people a lot of bad incentives.
Yeah,
and that has to change.
Absolutely. Chris Powell of ChrisPowellColumn.com. Check him out. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Reese.
You got it. Let's get another check of weather and traffic. Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, sir.
Stay locked in. Reese on the radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
I'm almost compelled not to accept a friend request from this individual. He appears to be a Miami Dolphins fan. I'm just kidding, Jim. I got you. I took care of it. I did. And anyway, so Chris Powell was great. But, it was so interesting that he said that we needed to help those in need because of inflation in those inner cities. And I'm like, look, some people want to stay in the inner city. Don't trust me when I tell you. Some of them would not leave if given the opportunity. They love their hood. It's representing. You know the deal. Roland, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Some of these people are representing. They ain't coming out of the hood. Some people, some people live and die by the hood, don't they?
Yeah, I don't think you're talking about them, though. Those are like gangs and...
No, not just gangs. There are some people who love the authenticity of the hood.
Oh.
They believe that that's, centric to who they are as individuals. I don't want to throw any race out there, but some people are just from the hood, would never leave.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they would almost feel... I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a great story.
I had a lot of fun growing up in the hood, but I was happy to get up out of there.
Let me tell you something. My ex-wife, Irish Catholic, but she grew up in the hood. She's a hood girl. And I mean the hood, like Queens. She lived, South Jamaica, Queens. And she loves New York. Like New York and her hood, she loves it. Dreaming to come. I tried to take her to nice places. I would take her to nice restaurants. Remember I told you I went to that restaurant in Tampa where I bought a porterhouse for $150?
Yeah.
I was there with my ex-wife, Mary. And I was there with her. And you know what she told me? She felt uncomfortable. I went with her. You want to talk about how uncomfortable this white Irish woman was? I took her to what can only be described as the whitest concert ever in Fairfax, Virginia. Who was performing? The B-52s. You familiar with them?
I am not.
Okay, B-52s, you would know their song. It's called The Love Shack.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, B-52s.
Yeah, okay.
By the way, McPherson.
I love that song.
Okay,
actually.
Everybody does. McPherson, big crush on her. Anyway, we're there at that concert. Me, 6'3", black guy, sea of white folks, having the time of my life. My white Irish ex-wife standing in the back, arms folded, and when we left, she said, "Don't make me do that again." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I don't want to be around that many white people. It's uncomfortable." I said, "They're your people." She goes, "No, they're not." I said, "What, if we went to a rap concert?" She goes, "Now you're talking." She couldn't be around them. So she's always been hood. I was like, did I look weird out there to you? Like I'm 6'3", towering over every person at the concert. She goes, no, you fit in perfectly. I'm like, what? She's just a hood rat. Well, we used to call them hood rats.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
They still call them that.
Yeah, that's what she was. Couldn't do it. And I love the B-52s, but not her. Not at all. Eric B. and Rakim all day. Let's get another check of weather and traffic with a guy who I know can appreciate the B-52s. Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center.
Yeah, I could do without Love Shack. I've heard that a few too many times.
Well, who has it? Wait,
Exactly.
Rock Lobster?
Rock Lobster, yeah.
Okay, all right, that's definitely one of the greatest songs ever. I don't care what anybody says.
You like that song?
I love Rock Lobster.
That is high intensity music. I mean, you got to be. That's about 175 beats per minute.
But it's still fun.
What is this thing? It's only 98 beats per minute, but it feels like it's 175 beats per minute.
It feels like you're on the beach.
Exactly. And you've had You've been imbibing a lot. That's what it feels like.
Totally.
The NAACP calls him, whoa, I don't think I'm allowed to read this. It's Reese on the radio. Let's just say some people are not fans. On News Talk 1080 WTIC.
I want to thank Kevin. Kevin, you're 100% right. Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins, they do use that term, synchronized media. That is such a great line. I love it when they say that term. By the way, I say this often, and if I haven't said it lately, please, whatever you do, check out that show immediately after this one. Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. It is a fun show. I wish I could do their show. And I think they're out of San Antonio because that's how I got hip to them in their show, because it's syndicated and it airs at different times in different, markets. It used to come on at 11 o'clock. So before I had to be on here on my drive home from U-Haul, I would listen to them for about a half an hour, and they are always fun. So when I tell you check out their show, I mean it. They are hilarious. And they almost as similar to the kind of comedy that I bring to these stories, they do as well. But it's just three guys, and it's a hoot. I enjoy listening to them. You will too. So check them out. They're right here on WTIC after my show. Like I said, I wouldn't steer you wrong. Let's read some of the comments. Fritz the Cat, what's going on, big guy? I appreciate you. Polly is saying dog food is ridiculously priced. Average $50 for a 25-pound bag. Goodness gracious, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. I had a story here that dovetails from my conversation with Chris Powell. And I want to make sure that I have it here because I've got so much paperwork here. Hold on. There we go. Yes. Okay, so it's this story here and this here. That's not it. Yes. Okay. So there's a story here that is leading me to believe that the housing crisis is a joke. This so-called affordable housing thing, I think it's a lie. Because as Chris Powell just said, there are a lot of housing units that you could just revamp. You could spend the money and just people could live there. But somebody sent this to me, and forgive me for forgetting who it was. Oh, it was probably Stevie V who sent this to me. And this is an article that says that there's an upscale apartment complex near Yukon that is struggling to fill. And no one's moving in. In the complex near Mansfield, Connecticut, near the University of Connecticut. Despite Connecticut's ongoing housing affordability crisis, the project's 52 affordable and workforce housing units remain over 85% vacant just months after opening this year in August. Why can't they fill them? And no one seems to understand why. So I want to talk about that a little bit before we move on to some other news and views for the program. But we got to get to your phone calls. Gio is calling from Canton. Welcome back, Gio. How are you?
Reese, how are you, Reese?
I'm great, man. What's up?
I like the conversation that you had with Chris Powell. I think it was pretty informative. I think it hit both sides. What did I want to call? I know I'm a little late to the subject.
That's all right.
I had the privilege of listening to the radio like an hour or two ago during work, and Epstein had came up.
Okay.
And I guess my question would be is why is the current administration protecting Bill Clinton and Obama, or the people that attended? Why can't we get those names?
You know what? I'll tell you that Epstein is nothing more than a political football and a wedge issue in Washington. And when you have a news media that needs to sort of be a thorn in the side of this administration that it doesn't like and actually wants to trip it up, they can selectively go after the story in the way that they do. And they have a fawning and very, very needy audience who wants to use those talking points in arguments with people that they are opposed to. So if they hate Trump and they have people who support Trump, this is now an argument they can use to rattle those people. See, this story says that Donald Trump knew about the women, which would then ask the question, yes, what does that mean? Right? So Bill Clinton knew about the girl. What does that mean? No one wants to ask that question. They only want political points. So, and it doesn't, and you know what the other argument is? I'll tell you what the other argument is, and this was said on CNN on Abby Phillips' show. Abby Phillips' show. The argument was when someone brought up Bill Clinton in the past, the first thing that came out of their mouth was, well, Bill Clinton's not the president anymore, which again goes to the exact point. Why are they not, valuable in this sort of information gathering? Is because there is no political end to use against Bill Clinton or Barack Obama.
Okay, well, do you believe that this whole thing's a hoax? Was there really a pedophile sex trafficking ring at all?
Let me tell you what I'm finding out, and in fact, I've even listened to the journalist, the guy who's been covering this story extensively, but no one will give time to. Why? Because it completely dispels the narrative. According to the witnesses who were outside of the Capitol, remember they were giving that big press conference with all the women who were there who said they were victims? Okay, so if you listen to the lawyer there, and I'll even grab the audio soundbite if I can find it, I'm sure I do. Outside, he said something that was absolutely interesting, and as a lawyer, you know it's his job to say things accurately or else face what's called liability, right?
Yep, repercussion,
Yeah, repercussion. So here's what he said. He said that these women at a certain point were then farmed out to other people. Now, everybody heard that and said, what did he mean by at some point? Nobody disputed it. So here's what we found out. And I believe this to be true because I've gone over it extensively. Was there trafficking in women from Epstein? Yes. But were they underage? According to this report, no. Why? Because they believed that when Epstein had no use for them, quote unquote, underage, he was then farming them out when they were of age to other individuals. That is according to the reporting. But no woman there, in essence, when you asked them, they said, was this person engaged in some criminal activity when you were underage? No woman would come on the record and say yes. They never suggested. And when asked 1,000 times, one of the young ladies, the black woman, was asked, we're going to come up with a list of ours on our own. They were like, well, okay, you're going to come up with a list of your own. And what? And they were like, and we're going to keep it to ourselves. We're like, wait a minute. Why would you keep that to yourselves? If there was criminality, you would make that list public so that the prosecutors, DOJ for that matter, could go after them. But there was a reason why, and it was selectively chosen to use that language.
Okay, I mean, I guess it's a whoop-de-doo that they weren't underage. It's still sex trafficking.
Oh, I agree with you, because that's what I said. You have all of these people who are saying that they were trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein to all of these powerful people. And in my view, regardless of whether or not they were underage or of age, if they were trafficked and forced to do that, a crime was committed.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess why I bring it up, not for like a political point to win in a debate.
No, totally understand.
It's more so like, Cash Patel had a podcast before getting into the FBI.
Yeah.
And a lot of his stuff was about releasing the Epstein files.
Yeah.
And now we're saying that it's a hoax and that there's specific reasons why we can't release it. I think even like when I was listening to Eric Erickson, I feel like he flipped the switch when he was bringing it up. I don't know. It's like
to be honest with you, I'm with you on this one, Gio, for this reason and this reason alone, right? Okay, release the Epstein files, but then I've got to ask this question, right? Let's say the Epstein files have a list of names on it. My question to you is this. What do you believe the Epstein files and I'm going to phrase this the right way because I'm going to screw it up if I don't. So let me ask you this. Do you believe that the Epstein files in question have a list of names of individuals and what crimes they committed?
I wouldn't say it's more so a list. we could use like the bombshell of emails, for example. I'm sure there are emails with other accomplices in this act.
Right. But the emails should suggest wrongdoing. Hold on. Should the emails suggest wrongdoing, or should we suggest wrongdoing because there were email exchanges?
I suspect wrongdoing because of the email exchanges.
Okay, so in that sense, the details of said exchanges, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would use them as pieces of evidence.
Correct.
You don't just talk about that for no reason.
Right.
You don't just.
So if you know that the Epstein files are going to have a list of people that Epstein was, because many people, when you ask them, what do you mean the Epstein list? Everybody says, well, the list of people that were engaged in criminal activity. I'm like, so you think that Epstein made a list of people that said John Doe had sex with Jane Doe? Is that what you think that the list entails? And they go, yes, doesn't it?
I form this list. It's not a list curated specifically by Epstein or maybe his accomplices.
Right.
But, I mean, I feel like we've been investigating this for a while. It just hasn't been released.
Right,
So
and I think...
in essence, it could be a list.
But see, what I think is that the reason why the list hasn't been... If you know that people are leaking, like this email thing that came out yesterday, Donald Trump knew about the girls. It's now being suggested in the news media that Donald Trump has done something untoward. Right? Because he knew about the girls, which now means Donald Trump engaged in criminal activity. If you know that and you're going to put out a list, that means if a name pops up that turns out to be a big name, all of a sudden, because that person's on the list, that guy engaged in criminal activity and you smeared him without any evidence of it, just because his name is there.
I mean, if your name is associated with Epstein, that's a big red flag to begin with.
That is so in that case, Bill Clinton right now should be arrested.
Yes. No, I totally agree. Obama, if his name is in there, get him. Like, all these people.
Only because his name's on a. Wait. But wait. Should his name be. But, Gio, hold on. Should his name be on a list, or should his name be on a list listing the things that he's done? Is name on the list enough?
I think, yes. I think his name shouldn't be on the list if he weren't implicated with Epstein. Because, Reese, if my name were on the Epstein list,
right,
would you suspect that I was not doing something fishy?
Look, no. My suspicion of you doing something should not be tantamount to you being hauled off by the DOJ. That's all it is. That's what I'm saying.
Explain that.
What I'm saying to you is that what you're suggesting here is, if you really think about it, Gio, what you're suggesting here is, if your name is associated with Jeffrey Epstein, by just association alone, you are associated with criminal activity, and therefore you should be hauled in by the DOJ. What I'm saying to you is that no one has been able to define the Epstein list with any specificity. What do you mean Epstein list? A list of what? A list of bribes? A list of... Nobody knows it. They just call it the Epstein list because it's meant to be generalized. So that you can make up...
term. I mean...
Go ahead, don't listen.
I mean, you could say the Epstein list can include the bribery amounts that were used to...
Correct. But you see how you're inventing it as you go along? Do you understand that? That's what you're doing right now.
I used your term. You said the Epstein list was like a blanket term that people just throw around, right?
Right.
But in reality, it holds truth to it, right? Because the Epstein list could refer to the bribery, like you had said.
Never use the word... Now, you should know better than that, Gio. Never use the word truth in absence of. You don't know what the truth is. You just know that there's an alleged list.
But we have evidence, though.
What's the evidence that we have?
So we're saying we don't have evidence? Was this whole thing a hoax?
No. We don't have evidence of who is implicated, and we don't have evidence of them committing any crimes. All we know is that there's a list. Well, tell me how there is. Prove me otherwise.
I don't know. I mean, I was using Pam Bondi's words. I was using...
I'm so upset about the Pam Bondi saying. She's saying there are hundreds of videotapes, but you never ever once heard her say actor so-and-so or actress so-and-so. You never heard her say that. She just said there were hundreds of videos. They could all just be Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, she also had the list waiting on her desk or on her desk.
Her words, 100%. I stand by everything that woman said. But everything outside of that is speculation. And again, this is no defense of Jeffrey Epstein. It's just a defense of what people are suggesting is in something, having no evidence thereof. And I think that people are going to find themselves with egg on their face.
So do you think that when people bring up the Epstein hoax, it's more so for political points in a debate, or to actually highlight that?
I don't. Anybody who calls it a hoax is calling it that because they don't know how to answer it. I mean, if they had any brains, they would be able to have a discussion like I just did with you about it. Because I'm not saying Jeffrey Epstein is innocent, and I'm not saying that. Well, first of all, we all know that Jeffrey Epstein is guilty, but I'm not suggesting anybody else is innocent or guilty because I don't know who's on the list, and I don't know what that list is supposed to pertain. But I got to go to a break. Okay. I appreciate you, big guy. Thank you so much.
I'll talk next time.
You got it. You got it. Let's take another break. Let's get to some weather and traffic. Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center.
The hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, we're back. I just want to say this before I do Hollywood news. Everybody, seriously, you should have listened to me. I warned you. You didn't want to listen? Fine. Wait until after we do Hollywood news and we get into weather and traffic. I'm going to show you exactly why I keep telling people, stop talking. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't. And I'll break that down in a second. We got to do Hollywood news. It's Hollywood News with your correspondent, Reese on the radio. All the glitz and all the glamour. It's Hollywood News. Now, normally I would be talking about movies and all that other stuff about this, but I'm not. This time I have to talk about apparently some sort of Hollywood rift between two individuals. One, Sydney Sweeney. The other, Zendaya. Now, apparently, Zendaya has come out and said because Sydney Sweeney did her little American Jeans ad that she can't stand next to her at photo ops and things like that. And so now there's created a rift between the Zendaya crowd and the Sydney Sweeney crowd. Look, with all due respect, I know people think that Zendaya is some sort of beautiful flower, beautiful, individual. But, folks, let's be honest, okay? This is Penelope Pitstop versus olive oil, okay? I've chosen my side, and yes, every time I'm going with the white blonde woman just because I can, okay? The skinny girl with the body of a boy, never gonna happen, okay? Never gonna happen. But you pick your side. You pick your side. You be fine. I'm just going to stick with the blonde, beautiful woman. That's okay? All right? All right, that's fine. That's Hollywood news for today. When we come back, I already told you what the definition of the Epstein list is, and you guys are in the chat room trying to explain to me what it is. You don't know what the Epstein list is, but I'll explain it to you in a heartbeat. It's not a real thing. That's the whole point. I'll break it down. We'll be back. Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Traffic Center. He's getting you home. Hey, Mark.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Hey, we are back. And look, I tried to explain this thing to you, but, in all of your arrogance and smart alecky sort of responses, I knew you didn't know what you were talking about. That was the reason why I addressed what's his name, Gio, the way that I did. And again, it is a desire for things to be in it that you want it to be. There is no such thing as the Epstein list in the fashion in which Gio was trying to describe it. Never has been. So I did, again, real quick, it's just as simple. It's not even a Google search. It's just a search. All you have to do is, now I'm going to break it down for you so you understand. We can get off this. The Epstein list, often called the Epstein client list, is a term popularized in the media and online discussions to describe a rumored, hypothesized document purportedly containing the names of high-profile individuals who were clients of Jeffrey Epstein, specifically those of whom he alleged trafficked in underage girls for sexual purposes, potentially as part of a blackmail scheme. However, this list does not exist as real or a real official document. A July 2025 memo from the U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ, explicitly stated that there was no client list and is found and a list that was found having reviewed Epstein's related files. And there's no credible evidence of Epstein blackmailing prominent individuals on the grounds of investigating uncharged third parties. Instead, the term is frequently conflated with actual publicly released materials from Epstein's cases, which include unsealed court documents, flight logs, contact books, e.g., in other words, Epstein's Black Book, which was seized in 2005, which are essentially phone directories with hundreds of entries ranging from high-profile figures to everyday contacts like service providers. These have been partially released in redacted form but contain no trafficking details. So the names that you would get, you would then surmise, because their names are on it, they immediately participated in crimes that you would then make up for them. That's what I was trying to explain to Gio. Okay, this is not giving Epstein a pass. This is telling you exactly where the term comes from. Recent 2025 releases, such as over 33,000 of pages of DOJ records and emails from Epstein estate, provided the House Oversight Committee in September of 2025, this was yesterday, which referenced figures like Trump, Clinton, Elon Musk, and others, passing Epstein's emailing about Trump's interactions with an alleged victim. These documents focus on Epstein's network and finances, but reveal no verified client list or new criminal charges against third parties. In short, it is not a list of people who have committed crimes. Okay? Not a list. Never has been a list. You all know this. So does the news media. They've always known this. But it is nice to get people all ginned up about it. Let's release the list, release the list. For what reason? Other than you to see a name in there, oh, there's a person I don't like. Yeah, he committed crimes. What about the people you do like? Well, maybe he's just friends with him. That's all. That's exactly what you're going to use it for, because it's exactly what the media used it for. That's always been the case. And again, why? I'll go one step further, because I played it earlier, and obviously a lot of you are late. The guy who they are referencing in yesterday's emails, Michael, what's his name? Goodwin? No, Michael Wolff. I apologize. He was on the Patrick Bet-David podcast, and he said this.
At that point, Epstein's legal problems began. The police began to investigate him over allegations that he was that there were underage women coming to his house. Epstein believed that it was Trump who first informed the police about what was going on at Epstein's house. And from that point on, they were nothing but bitter enemies.
Now, with that and the email that says Trump knew about the girls, does it bring a different context now? Because, again, that line, Trump knew about the girls, could mean anything. Trump knew about the girls, and he didn't have a problem with it. Or Trump knew about the girls, and he informed the FBI. Because the email just says Trump knew about the girls. Nothing else. There's nothing to spin here. See, the fact is that, and again, accusing me of spinning is exactly what you're doing. Spin it the other way then. Spin it the other way. And if you're so good at it, those of you in the chat room who would think that I'm spinning it, spin it the other way. Tell me what the line Trump knew about the girls. Tell me what it means and show me the evidence of it. Because I got my evidence. I display it here. I come with receipts. You got none. Tell me where you got. Tell me, spin it your way. Spin it how the line Trump knew about the girls means that he's implicated in wrongdoing. Tell me how Trump knew about the girls means that Trump was engaged in sexual activity with the victims in Epstein's case. Just lay it all out. Other than that, just shut up. Because you know you can't. Just say, I am desirous for Trump to be implicated in this because I hate him and I want him to fail and I want him to go down in flames. I hope that he's involved. I want him to be involved because I'm so sick and tired of being president and I don't want to cry anymore. Just say that. That's all. We'll all do better. And again, I appreciate you. But I know you guys are grasping at straws. It's desperate. You can't win anywhere else, so now you're making up nonsense. Spin, children, spin. Wrong person. Sean, what's going on, sir?
I love when you take the fastball that's right down the plate and you hit it out of the park.
I try to, sir. I try to.
And then you go around the bases like Ohtani. You flip the bat when he hits it like 460 feet. Just really, what's amazing about the Epstein thing?
Yeah,
is it's amazing how he disappeared for 43 days.
Yes, right.
He was gone. He didn't exist. There was nothing until we actually had a solution and to the situation. Now we gotta gin up the new problem.
And again, all this was the fact that they needed to distract from the fact that Democrats had to, as they put it, cave, or at least the media did, that they caved, that the suffering could not last any longer.
Right, and the damage that the Democratic Party did to the nation.
That's and you're absolutely right. And I love the fact that the piece that they put out only put them in a bigger jeopardy anyway, because as I reported earlier in this story is that, oh, by the way, the people who are listening now who are in my chat room going nuts, they missed this part. They should have joined the show earlier because I laid out how Michael Wolff, this guy who I just played, the guy who they showed the email.
I listened to that.
Yeah.
I listened to that.
Michael Wolff, again, is in email exchanges. By the way, these people are too lazy to look this up. In email exchanges, he was trying to guide Jeffrey Epstein to use his relationship with Donald Trump to curry favor with the news media that was trying to hemorrhage or hurt Trump's campaign in 2015 and in 2016. And we have the emails to prove it, that it was saying, Epstein, you want to get in the good graces of the news media, help them destroy Trump. And we have that on record.
Well, you also have the girl who allegedly who's the gal?
Virginia Giuffre. Or Guthrie is, I guess I pronounce her name poorly.
She wrote in her book, if they don't, evidently they can't read.
Oh, no, it gets better. Did you hear the new details?
Go ahead.
Donald Trump and Virginia have actually met one another. He counseled her. In fact, she came to him and they had a long conversation, it turns out. She met Donald Trump and had a conversation with him. Several.
Well, doesn't you know what that means? Then he's guilty.
Exactly.
And just really one other quick thing about one quick thing about the housing is the Lamont has been in charge for the last 9 years.
Yeah,
and he was responsible for leveling Stowe Village and all the projects, and did not replace them. So you have a housing shortage that they created because they leveled the buildings. And in Stowe Village, they did replace them with two-family homes. But the number of two-family homes that they replaced in Stowe Village
with far fewer
didn't even house one building of the 11 buildings they leveled.
Wow.
And they knew it because when I talked to my supervisor when I was working in the inner city in that area, they said, well, they're nicer buildings. I said, but where did all the other people go? It says it was planned for them to go to Glastonbury and Wethersfield and stuff like that, and then get them in housing. And once they were in housing, it would be hard to get them out.
Yeah, it's a damn shame that I think Chris was right, though, in sort of restoring the inner city and those dilapidated, abandoned buildings, which we have talked about on this program.
Right, they should have done it
a long time ago. But it's something they can focus on now because the people that they could be helping, you know, of course, in this Hearst report, the 3,000 homeless people living in shelters, you could get them in housing as soon as you rebuild the stuff that's dilapidated in Hartford and in Bridgeport. You can probably put, if not more than half of those people in housing right now.
Well, I was part of the revitalization of New Britain, and they still have a building sitting on the Arc of Little Poland that it took them. I was there for 25 years. That building has been abandoned for 25 years. And they just finished redoing it.
Damn.
And there's nobody in it.
Yeah.
And then right where the police station was in New Britain, they built another multi-unit building, several stories high. I think it's like 15 stories high.
Uh-huh.
And that's not full.
It's incredible, these people. I just mentioned one that near UConn, 85% empty. Again, it's baffling. I don't get any of it.
No, what it is, and I'll say this and I'll end on this.
Yeah.
What it is, it's fraud. It's you're taking the money that you're not putting the money towards where it's supposed to go, and then you kind of like, just as long as no one's holding you accountable, you just go and you just line the pockets of the people who keep you in office, and you keep moving along. 100%.
That's why I said I think the whole thing is a fraud in the first place, sir. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. You got it, man. You too. What's up, Danny boy? How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm all right, sir. What's up?
Hey, this garbage about, let's pass more bills about affordable housing.
Yeah.
They've had solutions for this for a while. All these empty lots in all the cities, how about cleaning them up and doing those, those little tiny house villages?
You know what?
Got a lot that'll hold 15 of them. Put them in. You get people that build a community. They have to maintain it and keep it up. They can afford to get in there because half of those tiny houses are $15,000 to $25,000.
You remember when, I don't know if you might not remember this, but I'm hoping that you remember it. Do you remember when during the Bloomberg administration in New York, they were thinking about turning those shipping containers, the tankers, like be on the big cargo ships. They were thinking about turning those into apartments. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Those things, in fact, those are a little bigger than small houses, but they would actually be kind of industrious. You could put them in a lot of these empty lots.
Yeah, and the thing is with those can actually be stacked.
Yep.
They can sound insulate between them. They can stack them. They can actually offset them so they look kind of unique the way they design these things, so you're not right above somebody, making noise. All the thoughts that go into this stuff. Instead of going, we need $5 billion to build another high-rise building that's going to be put all these people in, and where are all the people? Behind doors.
Yeah.
They never go know their neighbors. They never see their neighbors except to pass them in a hallway once in a while, if ever.
Yeah.
You could put these little tiny villages up all over the cities, make all these unique little, basically these little tiny neighborhoods on all these lots. There'd be plenty of places for people to live.
Let me ask you, goodness darn it, I got to take a break. You know what? Do me a favor, Dan, can I hold you over for a second? I got a great question.
Absolutely.
Just an observation I want you to take with me on this, because as you're talking about this and we're talking about the crates, something came to my mind. But I know some people might frown on it, but I'm going to describe it a certain way to you, and I want to get your take on it. So stand by for me, okay?
Sure.
You got it. Hold on. We got more news and more views. Of course, we got more on this topic when we come back, when we return. Gosh, it's such a good idea. I'm thinking about it because I'm thinking if somebody posted this meme about the food stamp thing, and they said if food stamps only bought people MREs, would people get off food stamps? Which gave me another idea that I'm going to share with Dan when we return. Stand by. Let's get to Mark Christopher. He's in the BPS traffic center.
The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed from WTIC News Talk 1080. Download the free Odyssey app, search WTIC News Talk 1080, and tap earlier today to get started.
Anyway, we'll be back to talk about what had happened. I'm totally about to sneeze. Like, where the heck did that come from? I can't believe I'm about to sneeze. Or anyway, I'll get to Dan in a quick second. I see a whole lot of people countering the stuff that I just said, but I don't hear any countering. You're all a bunch of frauds. I laid out the Epstein thing to you, and I still haven't heard any countering inside the chat room. You got all day. You're sitting at your computers. Go counter what I just said. But you're all a bunch of frauds. That's why you can't do it. You can't come up with any counter because you're frauds. You're just frauds. It's all right. Let me get back to Dan real quick. Dan, so here's my idea. Tell me what you think. Because Chris Powell said something about it, too. It's like, forget about just giving these folks their home. A lot of these folks are indigent. Many of them wouldn't even know how to take care of themselves if given the opportunity, hence why they ended up in the situation that they're in. But imagine you put them in sort of a structure that was comparable, not exactly like, but comparable to our incarceration or prison system. Hear me out. This sounds crazy, but hear me out. Not that the people wouldn't have the opportunity to go, whatever the case may be, but they need structure. So they'd have a curfew where they have to be, inside the house. Inside the home, there's structural like breakfast, lunch, and dinner where they had to be sort of like, in essence, all of their needs being provided for them, pretty much like a welfare state, but inside of a structure, that is. And that would be, it would be different from the shelter system. It would just be a place where people would live, and you would feed them under the same conditions that you do our military, which ironically is the same thing they do in our prisons. Both food systems are the same.
Yes. Kind of reminds me of a place I used to call the Mansfield Training Center.
Mansfield Training Center, okay.
Yeah, it's actually one of the prisons now out near Yukon. It was actually where they put a lot of people with mental issues and mental disabilities.
There you go.
To work with them.
Exactly.
But the problem is then you become the state of where we have to lock the people in because they're a danger to themselves and people on the street, and then the ACLU and everybody else gets involved, and it becomes the big nightmare we have right now all over again. What we really need, though, is someone to step up, and I don't think our governor can do it because I don't think he's got the chutzpah to actually go out and say it.
Yeah.
We need someone that has to say, okay, all you people living on the streets, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
We're going to put you in somewhere, and you're not going to be locked up. But you're going to have to be coming, you're going to have a place to live.
Right.
If it's a tiny
and you got to come in during it. You got to be there at night at a particular time. You can't be out roaming the street.
Right. Because every year you hear about how many people froze to death on the cities.
132 this year so far.
Yeah. And it's going to get worse because it's going to be a really cold winter. So what do? Do we force them to go? Do we say it's voluntary, but we're kind of requiring you to go?
Yeah.
How do we do this? I think basically what it is anybody on the street that we can get, we have to open up some of these vacant buildings and get the heat running in those places and get people a place to stay that's warm.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate you staying over, man. Thank you for your intake. Thanks, man. What's up, everybody? You know who it is.
You know who it is. You know who it is.
It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
We are about to get up out of here, and I'll get to the phones in a second. Meals ready to eat. Why? I'm not supposed to know that, Craig. Giving me crap. Craig is furious with me. Goodness gracious. He's like cursing at me in the chat room because I didn't know that MRE stood for Meals Ready to Eat. I didn't eat them. I was on welfare, okay? I wasn't in the military. At least I got the MRE right. I didn't know what they were called. Goodness gracious. Robert B., he wrote to me, he says, I don't know how old your wife is, but MRE's Meals Ready to Eat, thank you. At least he didn't make me feel bad, Craig. I grew up on the freeze-dried fruit salad was my favorite, and the peanut butter was the best back in the 90s. Peanut butter was a bit gritty, but you had to massage the oil and peanut butter together before eating. This was before self-heating option that we have now. Yeah, I don't like stirring my peanut butter. I think I expressed that earlier. That's ridiculous. Just peanut butter should be already pre-stirred, ready to go. That stuff with the oil on top and you got to mix it. It's one extra step. Peanut butter, scoop, apply. Now I'm in here mixing like I'm Paul Prudhomme. You make the peanut butter creamier. No. If you don't know who Paul Prudhomme is, never mind. It's not important. Epstein is not that bad. Shut up, Matt. I just read that. That just popped into my head. It was like, what is wrong with you? People are very upset at me because, I completely faced them on the whole Epstein thing. It's like, I know what I'm talking about. I told you you want it to be true, and I get it. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't. I don't care. You think I'm covering for Trump. No, my objective is to tell the truth, which I do. You can be mad about the truth, but who cares if you're mad? I don't care. So what? You want to be mad? And everybody, mind you, this is the best part. So I have to do a show. I have to read copy. I have to go through all of the other stuff that I have to do in my daily, show routine. I don't have time to sit up here and go through the exhaustive research process. But here we have people who are on their computers or on their phones who during the commercial breaks can completely dispel the stuff that I'm finding in an instant. Because I'm a research whiz. I know that. I don't have to brag about it. It's a fact. You don't have to brag about something that just is. Like, I am 6'3". I don't need to brag about it. It is. The facts are facts. So I know I'm doing my job. I know they can't do theirs. So I keep telling them, don't just argue with me about, I'm just sticking up for Trump. Just go refute what my claims are. Not one of them is left. Nobody's grabbed a computer. No one's going to look at them. Nobody's posted anything. I got plenty of other comments that are coming through here. Everybody's doing their research, but not these guys. Nope. They won't even bother. Why? Because they know what the truth is. Making it about me doesn't dispel what the facts are. Teresa writes, your idea with structured housing for indigent people is spot on, Reese. Unfortunately, so many homeless are mentally ill and dangerous to themselves, that one I know, and others. We need facilities that can properly care for them. The facilities that are monitored and maybe a 3 to 6 month basis to check on the staff and the facilities. We used to have mental health institution, and they got shut down because people were abused and uncared for. That's partially true, Teresa, because I'm going to find, maybe I should, but it was Geraldo Rivera. You might remember this, if you are old enough to remember. Geraldo Rivera was one of the people who blew the whistle on these mental care facilities and affected them so much that there was these reforms to the point where they were all shut down because of the stigma that these places were abusive to the mental patients. And now people refuse to put them in those institutions because of that stigma. No, you can't put them in a mental institution. Do you know the abuse that goes on there? And then that just permeates, we get where we are through social reconditioning. But you're 100% right. We do need to go back to those programs. But, I was thinking this. Let me use it this way. And Brian, stand by. I promise I'll get to you in a second on the phone lines. There's an important thing here. If you've never experienced it, look into it so that you understand where I'm coming from here. And maybe you have a family member who's gone through this. So I was in a group home, I want to say, 19? Yeah, 18, 19 years old. And I had left so many of them during my homeless years. So in the group home, which was interesting, they had counselors. Oh, wait, Roland, you used to do group homes. You know this. You know this better than I do. I mean, well, maybe we know about it the same. You were a group home counselor, if I'm correct, right?
Technically, I was a group home supervisor.
I apologize, man. I must get the distinction. Which, in essence, you oversaw the group home and the faculty.
Yes.
And the group home counselors.
10 staff under me, 6 kids.
10 staffers. Okay, so, and did you have 2 shifts or 3 shifts of the group home counselors?
I had 3 shifts.
3 shifts.
Overnight, 11 to 7.
Okay.
10 to 6, I'm sorry.
10 to 6. Okay, yes. So that's what, being in a group home, that's what you had to deal with. And the kids go to school, they go to other programs and things like that. They even go on trips.
Correct.
With the camp counselors on the weekend and during the summer. But this is where they lived. And it's paid for by the state, I believe. Right?
Yeah. Well, the one I worked for was a private.
Was private? Was it Archdiocese?
No.
Okay, because the one I was in was Archdiocese. The Mother of Immaculate, Virgin? Yeah, the Mother of the MIV. The Mother of the Immaculate Virgin out of Tottenville, Staten Island.
Oh, wow.
And that was through, their private fundraising. But that group home was in the Bronx on 1404 Doris Avenue. I'll never forget it. And it was how I fell in love with the Smiths and Echo and the Bunnymen. That group home was a huge fabric of my life. I loved that group home. And you had a roommate and stuff, and it was all boys. It wasn't co-ed. There are some group homes that are co-ed.
It was all boys.
And I think that what they should do is have a structure very similar to that. Because guess what? They have that assistant living for mental institutions as well. In fact, in my moving company, we were hired by the state, the state of Virginia, actually it's Prince William County. We were hired by them to move assisted living individuals who had jobs, but they all lived in a group home-like place, and they were adults who could not really function out without these supervisors that were there. So we should have something like that.
Yeah, I did that on the side.
That was a side job.
No, I did the group home as my full-time job. But what you're talking about, assisted living, where there was adults, I had to go there to give them their meds at 6 p.m. at 10 p.m.
Wow.
in their house, in their apartment.
A lot of them live in actual homes.
Yeah. He had his own apartment, and I would stop by at 6, and I'll stay there from 6 to 11.
Really? You would be there that long?
Yeah, because I would have to give him his meds at 6 and 11, but they needed somebody just to be in the house with him.
Did you just sit in the house? Like, would you communicate with him if they were communicating? Yeah, like watch the game and stuff like that?
Yeah, watch a movie, or most of the time I got there at like 5:30, prep the medication, gave him his meds, then I'll cook dinner.
Really? You had to cook too?
Cook his dinner for him, and serve his dinner, and then around 8 o'clock. Normally he'll go upstairs to his room, and I'll just chill downstairs and watch TV or whatnot until it was like 10:45ish. Then I'll go up there to his room, knock on the door, and say, "Hey, time to take your meds."
Wow!
And
did you get a relief, or then he would just sleep at night? by himself?
Yeah, it was a third shift.
Oh, okay. So, all right, and then somebody would come in.
Somebody came at 11.
Wow, that's so. See, again, it's not like these things couldn't be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's fascinating. I never knew that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because I worked with these, some of these in my moving capacity. I didn't know they stayed just like group home counselors.
Yeah, that was in Waterbury, too. The group home I worked in was in Windsor, and then my little side part-time was in Waterbury.
I love learning something new. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. Now let me get to Brian. Thank you so much for holding, Brian. How are you?
Good. Hey, Reese, maybe I'm a little cynical here, but I just don't think that this whole housing thing is about what people think it is. I'm just suspicious that it's a way to gerrymander the voting districts without touching the map. If we're moving people who are low income and, welfare, that kind of stuff, that are really beholden to these Democratic policies, who are they going to vote for?
Luke Bronin, look no further than that guy, because he's one of those guys who believes in that. You're 100% right.
So don't be surprised if a study comes out and says that the Republican stronghold towns need this housing the most.
Right on the nose, my friend. That's why I say I think it's crazy, because again, it's not like Chris Powell said, they have the means, they have the structure, they have the infrastructure to improve housing in the city of Hartford, but they are focusing on these suburbs.
Yes. So why? You know, you have to ask why.
Yeah.
And so maybe I'm being cynical, but I strongly suspect that, and it seems like you agree.
Listen to me, Arkham's razor, my friend.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You got it. Let's go to my friend Craig in the car, who's going to yell at me now instead of just texting it to me in the chat room.
No, I already did that. And you fessed up. Neil's ready to eat, man. She's already got the divorce papers filed. You don't know that? Come on.
She doesn't listen to the show when she's not on it. She's very vain like that.
I'll send her the Facebook link.
Thank you. Do me no favors, my friend. What you got going on?
If you need housing for the indigent, the low income, the people that are suffering from all that, just picture the last empty shopping mall you drove by.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. There's stores that are empty, and there's plumbing, and there's an empty Macy's, and there's an empty JCPenney's, which could be entertainment. It could be miniature golf. It could be a bingo hall. It could be miniature go-kart. It could be all of that, and there's a food court. You've got restaurants.
Yeah.
And if a private investor would buy that and be funded by the government to be guaranteed income for putting people in there, you got a place for people to live, and you have a place for people to recuperate. And you don't have to build housing in my town.
It's a good point. What do you think? What do you think of Brian's take that there is that sort of the political structure sort of putting a little wedge between, you know, those strongholds that may be very conservative and sort of like lighten them up a bit with some Democrat voters?
Yeah, to me, it's not a political thing; it's a human thing, right? It's what Tunnels to Towers does.
Right.
They're buying abandoned hotels that were
yes.
not viable, and they're repurposing them into homes, you know, communities for veterans that can't take care of themselves.
Yeah, and they get, you know what, aside from their $11, what is it, $11 a month, I'm sure they get a considerable amount of donations, but they are growing like tenfold. The amount of locations that they're buying, you know, as far as the old hotels are concerned, these guys are taking, I mean, they are really doing real estate or buying up real estate unimaginably so. And they're doing exactly the thing that the state could be doing.
Who do you want doing it? Do you want them doing it, or do you want Ned Lamont doing it?
Yeah, I would rather have Tunnels for Towers doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's my point. There's a lot of real estate out there. The infrastructure is already there. It doesn't have to be put in somebody's backyard, and we can help people.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying.
Yep. Without a doubt, sir. Thank you, Craig, as always.
So.
You got it. Craig, by the way, let's get together as soon as possible, man. I miss you. I haven't hung out with you in a while. And plus, I want to go back to the country club, let's be honest. Time to get up out of here. Michael A., thank you so much, man. I appreciate you being here. Teresa said her last comment was, and I didn't get to read it, she says, we are not helping them by letting them fend for themselves. That's right. I mean, it's obvious that they are not equipped to be able to fend for themselves. They need help, and they need real help, and it's not just through affordable housing. They need far more than that. They need structure in their lives, and they don't have any of that. They don't have any of that. They need more of it. All right, let's get up out of here. Roseanne joins us tomorrow. Roland will not. So we'll have Justin in the house tomorrow. Again, we had him last week. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. You have a good night, pleasant tomorrow. Mark Christopher's getting you home in the BPS Driving Center. Good night, sir.